Hey guys, so here we have Hugh Newman. He's actually a new human. That's the So what happened? Tell me. So most of you know Hugh Newman. He has appeared on my on our channel at least once, maybe more, because we have explored a little bit. So Hugh Newman is an explorer. He's a writer. He's got a bunch of books out on Amazon and many other bookstores in the U.S., in UK, and probably other European countries. He has appeared on a lot of TV shows, regular appearance on Ancient Aliens, Gaia TV. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Praveen. Good to see you.
Tell me, so here's the thing, okay? Can we have like an open discussion? It's going to be completely new. So let's start with your childhood. What is your earliest memory?
Well, my earliest memories is actually visiting Knossos in Crete and going to the Minotaur's labyrinth and temple. My mum took me on many different places when I was young. She was an avid explorer. She loved to go to all over Europe and different places. So ended up, without realizing it, seeing dozens of megalithic sites
in Greece.
In Greece, we went to Crete.
Crete, where is that?
It's literally next to Greece. It's like the kind of Minoan culture. We went to places like France and Spain and Menorca and all these different places. I didn't really know what was going on. I was just going for the ride. It was all through my childhood, really. And then when I kind of got to my teens, I kind of started, being interested in things like this, these ancient sites. And it's really crop circles that got me into stuff. I'm going to be studying these strange phenomena occurring in the fields, the West Country. And and then once I started experiencing those, I realized actually it's these megaliths that are always near crop circles. And going to Stonehenge in Avebury, and I'm like, oh my God, this is what I want to be doing now. So so it's kind of like a long haul to get to this point of actually exploring, even when I was very young.
Do you still believe that the crop circles and the megaliths are connected?
Well, they're always in the same area. So these so-called crop circles keep appearing. They've been appearing for hundreds of years. Strange phenomena. There's a lot of people making them now. But it's the landscape they're in which kind of got me, and that drew me into the megaliths, which is really the most important aspect of all this and what they can tell us.
What do you think the crop circles are?
The crop circles are really originally they're just an unusual sort of phenomenon. They kind of appear out of nowhere. There's like strange whirlwinds and lights are seen. In ancient tradition, they're like fairy rings and things like this. So no one really knows, but there's some kind of phenomenon that creates these shapes in the fields. And
aliens, that's what it is.
Some people say that, yeah.
You don't like that idea. You don't believe that.
There's no proof of that. There's no evidence to.
But we don't have proof of anything.
Yeah,
but we don't know how the crop circles are made.
Yeah, but crop circles
are crop circles are made by humans?
They are. A lot of them are now. Yeah.
No, but like the original ones, right?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah. No. So who made them?
No one knows.
But you don't think they're aliens?
No, that's not necessarily.
Okay. Who else could make them, I guess? I know this is
it's not necessarily. I just don't know. There's no real explanation. That's why it's become like this sort of profound mystery.
Do you think it's just a prank?
Nowadays it is, yeah. Yeah. It's almost like Banksy in the fields. You don't know who did the artwork, but it's there.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I think like the whole elemental fairy realm has that trickery associated with it. So it's their way of manifesting something in the physical realm as well. That's one of the ideas.
So I know that you research megaliths, mostly in Europe, and then now in Turkey, and I know you did a lot of stuff in Egypt and other sites. But then you were in India this year, right? You spent some time. We explored a few places, and then you went to North India. You were looking at other places. So what brought you to India?
Well, I've been wanting to go to India for many years. Never been, and I've been following your videos. Obviously, I'm also friends with Subhashish Das, who's based up further north. And there's a whole megalithic kind of culture there that he's kind of uncovered, like with dolmens, standing stones, even stone circles, very British-like, structures.
Really?
So that's what I wanted to go and look at as well. I wanted to meet you, look at some of these amazing megalithic kind of rock-carved temples. But also, there's just it's so rich, as you know, India, when it comes to ancient structures. We have...
You mean prehistoric structures?
Yeah.
You mean like dolmens? You mean like
we've got
the
dolmens,
cairns, the stone circles and stuff like that?
Yeah, because even down near Bangalore, I saw a whole kind of field of dolmens, which were absolutely amazing. Hiram Bengal, I think they're called.
Yeah.
And there's other further ones further south with the mushrooms, which I was hoping to look at, but didn't get a chance. But then you have all the rock cut stuff that you wanted to show me. We had a look at some amazing things, in like Tamil Nadu. But up north is also very interesting. I went to Barabar Caves, which are mind-blowing. But, and then obviously Kailash Temple. Oh my God. I mean, all the stuff up near that area. So it's so rich. I just wanted to go. I've been wanting to go for years. I had some time, had some space, prepared the whole trip really carefully. Unfortunately, JJ, my partner, couldn't come because her visa got rejected. So I had to go because I booked everything. I was going to meet you. I was meeting other friends out there. And it really blew my mind. It was like being in a dream. It was like, as soon as I arrived in India, it was like being in a dream for the whole time I was there. It was strange, but it felt effortless, felt easy. I felt really like I was supported there, like I was supposed to be there. It didn't feel like I was had to push against anything, even if I wasn't driving like I normally do, because it's terrifying, the roads there. But, just getting transport was easy, the flights, the trains, the Ubers, the taxis. Met up with you. That was excellent. We had a really cool day out looking at two amazing sites, which were really interesting. Amazing that you hadn't been to one of them before either. So we both turned up and were like, "Wow!" It was pretty damn cool. And and I think what I've been finding though is this possible connection between early Vedic culture and the sites in southeast Turkey. I mean, this has been presented before by an author called B.G. Siddharth, who wrote a book back in 1999.
Oh, really?
And he wrote about the possible astronomical connections between, the different texts of ancient, the Rig Veda mainly, and how they seem to be talking about or potentially connected with ancient southeast Turkey. When all these sites...
Gobekli Tepe, or
Gobekli Tepe,
he talked about Karahan Tepe too?
At the time, it was only Nevali Cori.
Okay.
Because that was the only one that was known, really, back then, back in the 90s. It was only a year later, after his book came out, Gobekli Tepe got properly announced to the world, even though it was discovered in around 94, 95. But there are, so one of the purposes was to look for connections between, see if I could find anything that might connect these different cultures.
Yeah. So let's talk about Gobekli Tepe first. What's the connection between Gobekli Tepe, which is a very ancient site in Turkey? How is it related to India?
That's a good question. There's Gobekli Tepe, people aren't aware, it dates to 9,600 BC, 11,600 years ago. Based near Şanlıurfa in southeast Turkey. It's an incredible site. Only about 5%, maybe 7% has been excavated, but you have these rings of stone, like stone circles almost. These beautiful cut T-pillars, like some of them are anthropomorphic with kind of hands touching the navel. They have animals, different figures and everything else carved on them. It's incredible for its time. And this is now one of many sites found in that area. And there's lots of phallic imagery that's been found there.
Like lingam.
Yeah, lingams, but we get more of that at Karahan Tepe. Since that's been uncovered relatively recently, we have this kind of almost like a lingam kind of pit, which we call the Pillar Shrine. It's called Structure AB officially. But there's certain symbolism found earlier than this at a site called Nevali Cori. There's a statue or a head of a statue. The face has been broken off. On the back of it, we have like a serpent wiggling down the back of this shaven head statue, which is just like a kind of Vedic priest ponytail.
Yes.
And this was picked up on by B.G. Siddharth in his book.
He did.
He wrote on it.
He's the one who talked about this.
Yeah, he's the one. He first mentioned it, and he also first mentioned the fact that he believes the Rig Veda, the astronomy in that, goes back to a much earlier epoch, potentially 7,000 to 8,000 BC. And then he realized, wow, this date matches close to Nevali Cori, because that was discovered back in the 80s. And so there was a whole structure there. There was called, there's like a sacred structure with pillars in it and everything else. Since then, more has come to light, suggesting this connection, and a lot of it to do with the lingam. Although the lingam itself is supposedly, as you know, a relatively modern kind of adaptation as such, if 1,000 or 2,000 years old at the most. Maybe it's much older. Maybe there's earlier references to these fertility cults that go back to a much earlier epoch, possibly into southeast Turkey. Because there is a route, the whole Silk Road connects all these countries together.
Yeah.
And so, I think there's something to be explored there. So part of my trip was to see if there's these connections, because we'll talk more about Karahan Tepe, of course, but straight away, when I read B.G. Siddharth's book, I was like, oh, there's something going on here. And then
did you talk to him? Did you
no,
talk to
not
B.G.
yet.
Siddharth?
Not yet, but I will be. I'm going to reach out to him.
So he's the first one who said there's like a carving of a head with a ponytail, a shaved head with a kind of like a serpent-like ponytail in Gobekli Tepe. No?
Nevali Cori.
Nevali Cori. Okay, and then he connected that with the Vedic. Like that's what people still do. The priestly people in India still completely shave their head, but they kind of have a ponytail. So he mentioned that. Yeah. And then you went there and you've researched that now.
Yeah, I've seen the head myself. It's pretty impressive. But like I say, since then, Karahan Tepe has come to light. Okay. Yeah, it was really revealed about 2021 when we went to visit it. And there's this maybe 20 or so feet wide, cut out of the rock, this kind of pit. It's about 5 feet deep, with these 10 pillars carved out of the bedrock that look like, look phallic. They look like lingams. And then there's an 11th one, which is like this serpent type kind of statue placed in the pit, with this head coming out of the wall, with these scales on the chin. It's an incredible thing. And then it's got a porthole stone leading through to this other area. And so it is really impressive. But immediately you think this is like a Shiva lingam. And then Charles Koss, who does this excellent YouTube channel, he made a little video about the connection, and it suddenly dawned on me that this is it. This is like more proof of what Siddharth was saying previously. That this appears because it's got all the qualities. It's got things like water flowing in and out of it, it's clearly had water in it. You've got the phallic lingams themselves, and then you even have other features as well, like the stone head overlooking it as well, which could have some other meaning. So it really intrigued us. And when we found this winter solstice discovery there, we realized this is all about fertility, this site. This is like one of the sort of features, one of the principles underlying Karahan Tepe. We wrote a 2-piece article on Graham Hancock, his website. And so we know that there's something strange going on there, and it connects with these much earlier epochs.
So I know you made a discovery in Karahan Tepe, right? And you're writing a book about it. I think you mentioned a little bit to the outside world, but it's kind of a discovery. So what did you discover?
Back in December the 20th, 2021, myself and JJ Ainsworth, who's also my partner, we had a series of strange events that led us to turn up at first thing in the morning on that 20th of December date, which is the winter solstice, at Karahan Tepe. Now, I almost got banned from the site, caused a few problems, but we heard a rumor that they were going to cover over the site for the winter, so we had to go and see it before that happened. So we got to the site first thing, first lights, got up to the enclosure, the kind of structure AB or the pillar shrine, and somehow we just spotted this blade of light touching this protruding head. And we can show some images of this. I've got a time lapse of it and everything. And this light blade of light was coming through this whole stone, through the main enclosure, as the sun was rising, and it went through this small hole, hit the head. So it was all very perfectly placed, and this is all carved from bedrock, remember. And then the blade of light would move around the head over a 45-minute period in this profound way. And so it was clearly marking the winter solstice. This was a winter solstice site. This was built into the site, and they were marking this time of year. Now, the winter solstice is the most extreme point the sun reaches on the horizon to the south. So the right-hand side if you're looking at the horizon. Whereas the summer solstice is the extreme left or north, which we find at Stonehenge, for instance. But because it reached this extreme point, it was coming through this whole stone at an angle, so it became like a blade. The actual whole stone's quite wide, like 40 centimetres wide. It's coming through like this. And so as the sun moves back out of the winter solstice time, back, to a different date, it doesn't work. No light comes. It just doesn't work. So it has to be a winter solstice site. So this really blew our minds because we accidentally turned up there and were guided there almost. It was almost like a whole series of synchronicities made us discover this. Now, we didn't realize then that it works even better if you roll back the clock to 9,000 or so BC, because Karahan Tepe, the earliest date they've got is 11,400 years ago, 9,400 BC. And so it's clear that, if you actually play it through Stellarium, you play it on computer programs where the sun would go and everything. We've created even a 3D Karahan Tepe to test it as well with my friend Kevin Esslinger, who's a graphic 3D artist. And it works really well. It just works. And it works better back then because the light would actually be higher on the head and complete. The whole face would get illuminated. And so we felt this was major, major importance. And we documented it. We published it. The authorities don't accept it in any way. The academics don't accept it. We published it on academia.org. Got it all up on Graham Hancock's website. It's in my little book on Gobekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe. But we're going to do a proper outline of it, an expose of it, in the forthcoming book I'm doing with J.J. Ainsworth. Mm-hmm. But the earliest known solstice alignment before this was from 8,200 BC, which is over 1,000 years kind of earlier. And this is Jericho in kind of Palestine, Israel area, where this was discovered by Ram Bakai. He's from Tel Aviv University in Israel. And they found that the actual kind of steps, the kind of entrance into the Jericho Tower lies to the winter solstice sunset. The summer solstice sunset. And so we found that really, really intriguing as well. But that was the oldest known solstice alignment. Stonehenge is much, much earlier. That's like 2,500 BC. But now we realize this is the oldest known solstice alignment on the planet. Mm-hmm. Might even be a world record. I don't know if they do world records for the oldest solstice or whatever, but it just means that there's...
What wasn't the Stonehenge built?
Stonehenge was only built
10,000, 12,000 years ago?
Interestingly, the earliest phase of Stonehenge is 3 post holes made of pine, which were found. They date back to 10,000 years. Yeah. But they're nothing to do with the solstice. The solstice was a stone circle, which is around 2,500 to 3,000 BC. Oh. But it's the same principle, so it makes you realize that they were studying the movement of the sun and trying to measure, the year, which you can do. If you've got a start point and you can recognize it and mark it with this light phenomena, which we witnessed, then you've got something you can build a calendar from, and which is what we believe this was done for, because it was at the very beginning, just before agriculture kicked in, when they had to have calendars to function. Because the whole agricultural revolution didn't really take place until a few hundred years later. But so they sort of developed the calendar first almost to kind of function as something they needed. But it was more sacred.
That's very interesting.
But I think it's more sacred than that. I don't think it's just about calendars for farming and this, that, and the other. I think it's actually, it was their attempt to start measuring, and observing and recording things properly. And so this is a high-level innovation for so-called hunter-gatherers. And so this is really the theme of the upcoming book. We're going to focus on all the amazing innovations that came out of this part of the world, and there's many.
So when is the book coming out?
It's going to be coming out about a year from now.
A year?
Yeah, we've already started it. We're about a third of the way through it. We're aiming to have it out. Me and J.J. Ainsworth, who's going to be writing it with me. She's done some excellent work on the astronomy as well, on the Golden Gate of the Ecliptic at Gobekli Tepe. And we're very aware that this information is kind of, some people have claimed, the solstice alignment can't work because there was a roof over these structures.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so this is one of the...
Do you think so? Is there a roof?
There's no evidence of any roofs at Gobekli Tepe or Karahan Tepe, but there's speculations from the archaeologists. They're kind of...
because they're T-pillars.
Yeah, but the problem is, I've talked to engineers about this at depth, and they said that useless for a roof because they're too thin at the bottom. They'll just topple over or slip over. For a roof, you need a thick base, and a thick top.
But we do have T-pillars in India. You saw.
Yeah, I've seen some like that. But these are, I don't think they're structural. But if they are, so what I did was I worked with Kevin Esslinger, again, this amazing graphic artist, and he reconstructed the whole of Karahan Tepe with a roof, with the solstice, 9000 BC, and amazingly, if you have to have certain openings in the roof. So he just chose an opening which is probably in roughly the right direction, and it just works with the roof as well. It doesn't interfere with the alignment. And we had double, triple checked, and we're like, oh my god! So even if there was a roof, it would even be better because it would like make it more profound. It would be all dark, and then the head would light up. Pretty amazing, And then you've got like probably ceremonies going on there as well. You've got these big events. The whole main enclosure, which is called Structure AD, there's two great big T-pillars in the middle, huge area for like rituals and dancing and everything else. So we believe it was something amazing was going on back then in this part of the world. And
you don't think there was a roof at all?
I personally,
an open place.
I believe they were open air sanctuaries, but they may have had temporary roofs on.
Made of wood,
potentially. But there's no wood has been known to really
like
exist.
Attached thing, like
just
dried leaves and all that. I've seen your house.
You've seen the thatch roof on my house.
Yes, it's nice.
But
post a picture. I don't think I have a picture.
Yeah, and they may have had roofs. I'm not disputing that, but there's a big debate about this. And the problem is, what's happened is in southeast Turkey, which we've been noticing, because I work with Andrew Collins, who's got this whole proposal that Cygnus being recorded through the alignments of the structures of Gobekli Tepe. And so the archaeologists don't like what we're doing very much. So they say, oh no, they've all got roofs. So that disputes all the astronomy. So they kind of delete it by saying there's a roof on it, even though there's zero evidence for any roofs. There's no woods being found, no evidence of anything. They're just speculating like speculators do. So, there's a lot of speculation going on with the archaeologists, unfortunately. This is kind of what happens in modern archaeology. But, and it's put forward as fact, and so other people, And so there's a lot of this going on, and it's often to counteract the alternative theories and discoveries that other people have made who aren't archaeologists or academics. So we have this kind of situation. But there's a lot more going on there than just this discovery at Karahan Tepe.
Yeah. What do you think those sites are? Like Gobekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe. Like, what do you think they are? Are they temples?
I think that I personally, this is another touchy subject. I think they're temples. Yeah, I think they're sacred sites. They were used.
Do you think they're Hindu temples? Something like that.
I don't know if they're
Vedic temples.
Well, I think the Vedic. There might be a connection with the early Vedic ideas coming out of this part of the world, but I believe that they were very articulate, very beautifully created structures, and they're not just for living in. These are like they're like megalithic cathedrals. I mean, the T-pillars in the center of the main enclosure, D, at Gobekli Tepe, 18 feet tall. These are the same height as Stonehenge. These are massive.
Yeah.
The enclosure itself is like 60 feet wide, and that's one of them, and there's potentially 20 are known to exist there. Only 4 or 5 have been excavated.
Mm-hmm.
So these were major megalithic temples. These were sites of glory for the people who made them. These were revered places where great events took place. There were probably teachings. There was probably astronomical teachings and observing the sky. There were rituals there, no doubt. And I think it was also a place of the dead where they would kind of carry out rituals for the dead or connecting with the ancestors, probably taking high-dose mushrooms and psychedelics, which is now evidence of that. Well, they've also found evidence of producing beer there as well, the earliest beer gruel, if you like. Even wine at a site called Tepe, which is older than Gobekli Tepe. So they found evidence of alcohol production at Gobekli Tepe with beer, kind of beer gruel.
Is alcohol allowed in Turkey?
I think it was allowed back then.
Yeah. Now it's not? Now it's not?
Yes, you can get alcohol in
Turkey.
Yeah, don't worry.
You got almost banned in Turkey, didn't you?
Well, yeah, we get, myself and Andrew Collins, we do get in all sorts of trouble out there. We don't mean to. We're very genuine. We never do anything.
You're a naughty boy.
No, but I'm a naughty boy. But we never do anything that causes. We never take anything home with us. We always report if we make discoveries, we report them. We made more discoveries than this. We found T-pillars at unexcavated sites, things like this. We found underground areas that no one knows about. But yeah, Andrew, he's notorious there because he's written several books, and he was very supportive of the Kurdish people who got kind of lost. A lot of lives were lost back in 100 or so years ago.
Kurds,
the Kurdish
Kurds
people.
and Turks.
Yeah,
is there a problem?
But he got kind of attacked because of that. But also all his ideas about Gobekli Tepe. Some of the archaeologists didn't like it.
What is he saying about the Gobekli Tepe?
Well, no, but a lot of I don't think these archaeologists read Andrew's books because his stuff's very solid. It's not like he's making up crazy ideas. This is like genuine traditions of the area mixed with astronomical discoveries.
Yeah,
and I think you've got to take these into account. And but also, I turn up there, and we're quite popular online. We promote Karahan Tepe. We do tours out there. So we're always talking about it or writing about it or making videos about it. And I think just the authorities out there don't like just outsiders coming in and throwing all the ideas around. They want to have control of it a little bit more, which is fine. We're respectful. I really appreciate the archaeologist Neshmi Karal. I think he's doing a fantastic job. Karahan Tepe. Klaus Schmidt was amazing. We met him a couple of times when he was alive at Gobekli Tepe. So there's some really good people there, working on this, and we've got to know the families out there of some of the sites, so we get access to them. And it's a profound time to be investigating the area because this is like the discoveries being made in like Egypt or Maya lands or Olmec lands like 200 or 300 years ago. When all the antiquarians and explorers were hacking through the jungle, digging up the sand, finding all these discoveries. This is now happening in Turkey as we speak. This is happening. This is happening this summer, next summer, summers in the future, because everything was buried. That's the thing with these sites. These massive sites, these huge complexes were buried. They were like, some people say now there was it kind of fell in. It was a natural burial. But now there's good evidence as well that there was deliberate burials, like they were covering over, reconstructing, repairing, and then burying the sites in a ritualistic manner. So that is very interesting. And so what that means, and this is what's been found already, preservation of some of these sites that are nearly 12,000 years old are incredible. If they'd been exposed and weren't buried, they'd be mostly in ruin. But these are preserved, almost precise, perfect sites that can still be witnessed today.
Yeah. What about Derinkuyu? Did you go there?
Derinkuyu, yeah, that's a fascinating place.
You've been there?
Yeah, I've been there.
Did you go inside?
Yes.
Derinkuyu?
Yeah, I've been there.
How big is that?
It's big. It's like you can go down 8 levels, but I think there's more. There's like double that amount of levels in reality. Derinkuyu is very interesting. This is about 300 miles to the west of Gobekli Tepe, that area. This is an underground city in the area of Cappadocia, in sort of central Turkey, if you like. And,
why would somebody build a 8-level underground city?
This is more than 8 levels.
Yeah, okay.
I've been.
How about a 16-level underground city? How old is it?
Well, this is the big question. People think it could go back to Paleolithic or Mesolithic times, so before Gobekli Tepe.
So 10,000 years at least?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, there's a bit of evidence that Andrew uncovered which blew my mind. But,
so sorry to interrupt you, but
no,
why would somebody build a 16-level underground city 10,000 years ago? How could they?
There was 200 of these cities.
Yeah.
There's
but
not
why
one,
though?
Not
Why?
one of them. Why? We don't. That's a good question. Some people, if they're as old as they say, they could be hiding from some kind of cataclysm on the surface.
But that doesn't make any sense. A cataclysm, we don't be like, okay, we're getting a cataclysm next year on this date. Now let's start building a city. That doesn't make any sense. Cataclysms happen like that. Correct.
Sometimes. Well,
give me an example where we expected a cataclysm right next year. Tell me, give me one.
Well, no, but if you look at the solar activity, solar flares, they build up over time and they increase over many years. And also, the Younger Dryas lasted for 1,000 years, that whole period. And there were different things happening. So we know that, it doesn't take long to carve into this kind of tufa rock, this kind of soft rock that they get in that area. So no doubt, if they needed to get into caves to protect themselves, because if you've got
from the cold,
it could be from anything. We don't know. This is pure speculation.
It can't be from water.
But why they were built? This is pure speculation. No one knows, but they're there, and there's a lot of them. And what they found is there was an author back in the 80s who found where they dumped, because you have to clear out all the rock and dump it somewhere. He found a riverbed where they were dumping the rock and found Paleolithic tools in it, suggesting that the first levels that were cut out of the rock actually from that era. So they were kind of started to utilize the rock and build and make shelters from it back then. Then it got expanded and grew during different cultures at later times. But then they found them everywhere. They're not just Cappadocia. They found one in Konya, which is near Çatalhöyük. They found one near Asikli Hoyak, which again is near Konya. These are both pre-pottery or early Neolithic sites, rather. They found some even in Midyat, which is between Gobekli Tepe and Mardin to eastern Turkey. So what on earth was going on here, and how old are they really? This is one of the big questions. No one really knows, but they're one of the mysteries. I mean, I believe that something happened about 1,500 years into the Gobekli Tepe culture, which is called the Tastebala culture, officially meaning stone hills. And something happened. They had to move out from there for some reason. It may not have been a cataclysm. It could have been something else. And they moved west, and they started creating these underground cities for some reason. That's just a theory.
How many people lived there?
They say many thousands of people could have lived there in one city. It would have been a nightmare when you need the bathroom, if you think about that.
Yeah, they could make the bathrooms there.
You'd have to go out on the surface and hopefully near a river. But yeah, these are amazing. And so, and also what's interesting is that we have, so these are like hypogeum caves, rock cut caves, yeah? Mm-hmm. And going deep, very well done, some of them. Some of them are quite rough hewn.
Yeah.
First levels, the older levels, are clearly stone tools they use. You can see the tool marks. Whereas you get lower down, later levels, these are metal tools. So you can see it's a later culture doing it. But the same stone tools they found used at Derinkuyu are very similar to what they must have used at Karahan Tepe and Gobekli Tepe. Because even at these sites, they are carved partly into bedrock. There's a huge amount of bedrock is cut and carved. It's not just constructed stones and placed stones that are quarried. This is like carving directly into the bedrock. It's pretty impressive all round, and so that they were doing this kind of thing so long ago.
Yeah. What are the other innovations coming out of that Turkey area?
There's a lot going on. I mean, there's some really funny ones, actually, that you'll like, I think. Firstly, though, we have the astronomical information coming out. The carvings representing different phases of the way, of the ecliptic, of the solstices, of Cygnus, of certain stars and things like this are being recorded very accurately. Whatever anyone says, this is what was going on, for sure. So that is pretty impressive, because this was the first place this was being done. One of the things that fascinates me, which I've discovered, is the use of advanced geometry. Now, this has been found at both Gobekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe so far, possibly also at Nevali Cori, where I found the exact same precise geometries found in British stone circles, and even at Nabta Playa in Egypt stone circle. The same kind of geometries found at Gobekli Tepe, and these are very intricate, very specific ones, first really recorded and discovered by Alexander Thom back in the 1950s. The British sites. And so that completely blew my mind. We've also got official academics now saying there's a pattern of construction, like at triangles, between the centres of the main enclosure at Gobekli Tepe. So that's incredible. And then from that, we found the measurements of some of the parts of the site. And when I worked out the measurements of everything, the metrology, I found that they were using the megalithic yard, and they were using the English foot, Persian foot, the Sumerian palm, and all these ancient measurement systems, which are earth measures based on the size and shape of the earth. And so that means back then they must have had an understanding of the Earth and how it, what the size, shape, and how it kind of fits into everything. And so that, combined with the astronomy, you can kind of work that thing out. Mm-hmm. And so that really blew my mind, because this is the first time these kind of ideas were done anywhere on the planet. And we've got now proof of this beyond doubt. Now, the upcoming book is going to go into full detail about that. My little book, it covers it in, briefly, but because it's just so important. But this is where many of the ideas, many of the measurements we find at Gobekli Tepe, we find the exact same systems at Stonehenge. We find similar systems in the Great Pyramid. We find similar systems in India. Yeah. So this is where it may have originated, where these ideas and this knowledge first appeared. And so it goes beyond that. We have an understanding of magnetism that's been found at Gobekli Tepe. We have a whole magnetic anomaly has been found in enclosure D. And this could be linked with the work of John Burke, who believes that agriculture can be enhanced and grains and crop seeds can be enhanced if you have the right magnetism in a certain spot and you place the grains and seeds there. You get a better yield and everything else. So the list goes on, but one of the most funny ones is from Nevali Cori again, where we find the head with the serpent on it. And there, they had domestic buildings, very interesting domestic buildings. These were quite long, these quite elongated kind of rectangular structures. But they found these strange things because it was next to the Tigris River, or one of the streams coming off it. And they found that they carved channels under the house, lots of these channels. Then in the house itself, there were little things you just pull open, so the water could then flow through. And what they found was, if it was really hot weather and they allowed the water to flow through, it would cool the whole atmosphere down in the house, in the structure. So this is the first ever air conditioning. Wow. Can you believe that? Yeah. 8,300 BC this would be, at least. Wow. And to me, that is just genius. Just the level of thought and idea to kind of bring that into reality, that earlier date, is just mind-blowing. And also, we also have places like Nevali Cori, but also at Gobekli Tepe as well. You have what's called terrazzo floors, which is a form of cement plaster made from crushed limestone, heated up, and then mixed with water, and it turns into cement. They often mixed it with red ochre to give it a bit of colour. And that, again, is like a major innovation. This is like the first ever cement and plaster anywhere on the planet, going back to nearly 12,000 years ago. I mean, and yet no one really is interested in this. And to me, this is mind-blowing. This is like massive innovations taking place. But where did all these ideas come from? It makes you wonder. This is why we kind of speculate. Was it the Anunnaki? Was it like the Watchers, the Book of Enoch? Is it these gods coming down and doing this? I mean, what is going on? And so you have to kind of consider that there's something profound was happening back then. Yeah. And I think this influenced the whole planet, because we're finding the same geometries and metrology all across the world from that point onwards, from that area. And there's evidence of DNA coming out. We have B.G. Siddharth talking about the Vedic origins could be related to that part of southeast Turkey. So there's a lot of questions still need to be answered, but we're starting to get on the right track.
What was the first thing that made you start the whole Megalithomania thing?
Yeah, I got really into doing events, and I also studied journalism and filmmaking at university in London. And so I was the projects I chose to do there were based upon like ley lines and sacred sites in London, because I was based in London. And then I had this opportunity to kind of be involved, and I started giving little lectures about my research at festivals like the Big Green Gathering, the Sunrise.
Green Gathering.
Yeah, it's like
a hippie thing.
Yeah, a big thing.
You're a hippie?
No, not so much. No. But the festivals were more about ecological stuff, ancient mysteries, that kind of thing. And then I ended up organising the parts of these festivals under the name Avalon Rising.
Avalon Rising.
Yeah, we did.
Which year was this?
We did this back in the early 2000s, I guess, and and that really got me. I was writing more. We did a little kind of magazine. We had a website. I then got invited to work with John Martineau and Gareth Mills, and we decided to set up Megalithomania conference with the help of John Michel as well, is the name.
He's the one who first used it.
He used that name on a book.
He said megalith. Is that a book?
It's a book.
Megalithomania.
Yeah, from 1982.
John Michel.
Yeah, and it's all about, the book is about how the artists, archaeologists, and antiquarians went crazy for these megalithic sites and would act really weird around them. They just blew their minds. It would take over their lives.
I see.
And that's what the conference is based on. It's the same vibe. Yeah.
So he's actually saying that the megaliths are having an influence on the people who come to visit them?
Yeah, very much so, yeah. But in a very odd, profound way, they become megalithomania, megalithomaniacs. And that was that was the kind of term we used for the conference. And that's what I use now for everything that we do, And yes, so it's been
So this is a time where you kind of shamelessly plug in your YouTube channel name. It'd be like, follow Megalithomania UK. You should say this, Hugh. Oh, I shouldn't be saying it. You say it.
Yeah. No, but just firstly, though, the conference was founded back in 2006. And this was really, I want to just emphasize, because this is a big subject now, it was starting to bridge the academic and the alternative researchers and their worlds into one stage. And they could all come up on stage, share their ideas, and have an open discussion in a polite manner. And very much the reason we founded the conference. And now with all the Graham Hancock stuff and Flint Dibble debates, it's all coming back again, and it really needs to be addressed, this. And I think this is one of the reasons, I think, there's it's an unfortunate divide between these different kind of parties, if you like, where there really should be kind of mutual respect and cohabitation of this subject with lots of different disciplines being accepted, not just one or two like anthropology and archaeology, but also other subjects like archaeoastronomy, geomancy, like mathematics and things like this. And so that's the kind of fundamental kind of basis I kind of try and do everything from. So we at a conference and on our tours and everything else, we kind of try and bring academics in as well as the alternative people to kind of get this discussion going. It's actually been quite beneficial over the years at the conference. But yeah, now we do it. We've got this big YouTube channel as well, Megalithomania UK. We put all our lectures on there that we record at our conferences. Lots of explorations that I do around the world with JJ and Andrew Collins and other people.
Is that a real phenomenon that we get excited when we see a megalith?
It's for me, absolutely.
Gets you excited?
God, man, it just drives me mad. It's like, I'll go to extreme lengths and risk my life to go and see one megalith in a field. It's got to that point where it is a mania, and I think people people feel that. They feel like this compulsion.
Well, you may have an obsession with it, right? So do I. What about like a regular person, right? So somebody we're taking somebody, and then the first time they look at something, do they actually kind of, you see a change in their behavior?
I've seen it happen. I'm not saying everyone, but I've seen it happen where they've been like, oh, this is, it's like the kind of 2001 Space Odyssey where these sort of ape creatures kind of see this monolith and kind of suddenly changes their whole perception of everything. And so I think it has almost like that kind of effect on people sometimes, because these are monuments created by our own ancestors, and we don't know why, we don't know their real purpose, but they're permanent, they're immortal, they're things that are placed there to kind of, revere in some way or another, and to ask questions and like stimulate the mind and the brain chemistry, kind of try and get some answers. So I think there's something very simple and profound about just one stone in a field, multiple stones in a stone circle, that kind of bring this out in people. And I think it, even today, at the summer solstice, at Stonehenge, for instance, we have 15, 20,000 people turn up just to hang out in a stone circle overnight for like one night a year, and then watch the sunrise together. Why? I mean, why would you want to do that? But everyone wants to do it. And so there's something about it. There's something about these sites which have kind of, whoever made them, I think had a deep understanding of something quite profound that they knew future generations would adhere to and revere. So I think there's something to be said for that, yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Well,
So here's the thing. So his YouTube channel is called Megalithomania UK. He's written a bunch of books. He puts a lot of lectures. Obviously, he does a lot of. I don't have to say this because your YouTube channel name is Megalithomania, but he works on megaliths. He gets excited more with dolmens and cairns and stone circles than carvings and temples and stuff like that. So I know that's your specialty. So thank you, Hugh. Thank you for coming out here, and it was great talking to you.
Thank you, Praveen. It's been delightful. Thanks so much.